All right. Good afternoon, Simpler family. My name's Melissa, and I'm a trader here at Simpler in the trendy trading room. And today I want to talk about social sentiment stocks. In today's market, stocks don't just move because of earnings or analyst ratings, they move because of momentum, memes, and the masses. Welcome to the world of social sentiment trading. From Reddit threads to TikTok influencers to Twitter trending tickers, retail traders now have the power to move the markets faster than ever before. But here's the catch. While social sentiment can send a stock soaring, it can also crash it just as fast. We've all been in those trades, I'm sure. That's why today I want to talk about breaking down exactly how I trade social sentiment stocks, the same strategies I use to ride the wave without getting caught in the crash. I want to talk and teach you about how to spot the right setups, what tools I use to track the viral momentum, my risk management rules, and how I exit these trades before the music stops. Whether it's hood or core weave or the next unknown ticker about to explode, I'm hoping that this will help you trade smarter and with more confidence. So, let's dive in. First, what is social sentiment stocks? These are stocks that don't always move on fundamentals. Instead, they move because people are talking about them. Knowing how to spot the right ones and manage risk is key. You will often see them talked about on Reddit or Twitter, TikTok, Discord. They include the meme stocks, trending tickers, and crowd favorites. Now, for how I find the stocks that are currently popular in the social media world, monitor both sentiment and momentum together. I use a watch list that TOS provides, and it's called Active on Social. Here in a minute, I'll show you on a live chart exactly where that watch list is. You, of course, could monitor stock twits, Reddit, and Twitter for the stocks that are trending, or use sentiment scanners like Swaggy Stocks for those names, but I've just found that it's easier for me to scan that TOS watch list that is easily available, and it provides what is trending from an hourly time frame perspective, a daily time frame perspective, and a weekly time frame perspective. Now, back in the day, I did used to scan Twitter and Reddit and things to find the names that were popular, but I find that that watch list just makes it much, much more time effective. Here's a little bit about my entry rules and what I am looking for before entering a trade that is a social sentiment stock. I like to wait for confirmation signals in my buy zones. I avoid chasing the overextended parabolic candles. I'm looking for a dip buy. I use inside candles for controlled entries, and also when price is consolidating or flagging, that will tell me when to actually get in the trade. I love to wait for confirmation, such as higher lows in a buy zone or the new Momo reversal arrows, or trendy turn signals. Again, I don't jump in a stock going long when you have a candle that's two or three times the size of the average candle. I'm not looking to buy at highs. I like to wait for those pullbacks. Now, it's very, very important that we talk about managing risk when trading stocks that are socially popular right now. And what I do is I set tight stops to limit my loss. The buy zone and the stop loss needs to be smaller than what I would typically trade. So I'm looking for a small risk zone before deciding that I'm going to enter the trade. I want to avoid holding on to the stocks for too long. You can use smaller position sizes than normal if you typically don't have a set allocation per trade like I do. Then, when trading something that is moving because of social sentiment, it could be wise to use a smaller position size than what you would normally put on and implement time stops for quick trades. What I mean is, if I'm going to trade a social sentiment stock and I intend get in the trade based on a day trade, then if my stop hasn't been hit and I'm not at a profit target or my final target, I will go ahead and exit the trade at the end of the day rather than carrying it over. And that's what I mean by having time stops. So if I was getting in a social sentiment stock trade based on a 4 hour chart, for instance, that would be a trade I was looking to be in for 2 to 5 days. So by the end of the week, I'm going to go ahead and exit the trade just based on time alone and not necessarily my stop loss or even if it hasn't made it to my final target. These plays move fast and they break hard. I treat them like hot potatoes with a plan, out with discipline, limit the downside before I ever enter the trade. And that's what I mean by having that smaller than normal risk buy zone. Here's my exit strategy when I'm trading these stocks. I like to scale out of 50% of the total number of options that I am holding at each key level. So I am scaling out at profit targets. And if I enter a trade with, say, 8 contracts, at the first target, I'm going to sell four. And then at the second target, I'm going to sell two and left with 2 runners for my ultimate target. I also use Fibonacci or key EMA as a stop once I have scaled out at 2 targets. That way, I'm not giving back more of the profits on the runners than what is necessary because these names can break so hard and so fast. I like to have those hard stops in place ahead of time. Also, for my profit targets, I need to mention I like to use Fibonacci levels or inside candles for my targets. All right. All right. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go to a live chart real quick. And I'm going to talk about a trade that I recently took that I used this social sentiment strategy. All right. So I was trading Hood. Okay. It had showed up. I wanted to show you guys where that watch list is at. So if you have a watch list and your own custom watch list, if you click right up here, it will pull up this menu, right? And right down here where it says active on social, this is the watch list that I have been using to find these socially popular names right now. So, like I said, they have an hourly report showing what names are popular on those social media outlets. And right now, it's Amazon, ASTS, Big Bear, AI, CoreWeave, Carvana. You can see the names. This updates and is a moving watch list. So names can come and go from this hourly watch list. I like to use this for potential day trades. So, what is popular in the morning, right before the market opens, I pull up this watch list and just see what is trending as far as social sentiment names go. And I will often pick a name off of this list in the morning to watch to day trade. Then you also have the daily report. So this is looking over the course of days rather than just an hour. I like to look and see if there's any names that are on all of these lists. That tells me that it's not just for today, that this ticker might be trending on those social outlets. And I actually had a trade, and I'll go over this one as well on BBAI, where I just exited for about 200% winner on BBAI. But that was because this name, Big Bear AI, was showing up on the hourly report when I entered the trade. I think it's still on all of these reports. The daily report as well as the weekly report. So, this was a name that has been trending for quite some time. And the fact that it's still on all of these lists tell me that it is still popular across the social media outlets for potential trades. So this name I actually had a swing trade on, trading off of a weekly chart buy zone, and I'll go over that one next. But I wanted to talk about a recent trade in Hood. Hood provided it was on both the hourly time frame as well as the daily time frame. So what I did was said, okay, I'm going to trade this and intend to be in the trade for 2 to 5 days because it was socially popular. I knew that I wanted to have a small risk for my buy zone. So I was able to catch a dip into this buy zone, into the inside and up candle formation that I mentioned that I like to use for my buy zones. I also had a trendy edge here that price pulled back to on July the 7th. So only 2 days ago. I bought the dip into this zone, and my target was this trendy edge up here. So 97.94 by 100.88, which is the all time high. So just a quick trade. I didn't intend to be in it for a long time. And I actually exited a little earlier than what I was expecting. They had a move from 91, let's just call it $91. I went, carried it overnight, right? I bought enough time to expiration. I wasn't worried about carrying it overnight as long as it didn't stop me out below 89.70. I carried it overnight and was able to cash it out for 57% profit, about $220 a contract the very next morning, right at my target zone. So that is a recent trade that lasted for hours, basically overnight trade, $220 a contract. Uh, when I was talking earlier about these things, they can move hard to the upside really fast, like wind behind your back, right? You can see from $91 to $98, $7, boom, overnight. But they can drop just as hard and just as fast. That's why I mentioned that it's always good to have to know where your profit target is and don't mess around. If you get that move, whether you intended to be in the trade for 5 days and you get the move 15 minutes later, take your profits. Okay, that is something that's a little different than my typical setup, but I found that by doing this, I am able to have a better win percentage rate, and also my P&L is better because I took the exit at target and didn't set through this huge pullback right where we had entered on the previous day. And then you can see today it's just consolidating. So get in at your entry level, have a tight stop loss on the trade, exit at your target levels, and then wait for another setup or move on to the next trade. All right, that's really important. Now, I talked about BBAI, Big Bear AI. This was a trade that was a little different in that I had seen this name on the social sentiment watch list for uh, all time frames, and it had been trending on the social media outlets for several weeks. And so I decided I wanted to find a buy zone. And at the time, that buy zone for me was between $4.84 and $4.59. I liked this buy zone because it was a golden pocket, which I love to trade. What I determined as my golden pocket is a 50 to the 618 fib. I know the golden pocket technically is a 618 to the 65, but I found through back testing that that 50 fib is an important level. I also had a trendy edge inside of this zone, and I knew that it was trending on the social media outlets. So also high short float on this name, which a lot of these social sentiment stocks will have a high short float. So I entered on this dip. I had an alert set here. I didn't enter early. I waited for price to pull back into my buy zone. I bought the dip. I trimmed on the way up, and I actually just exited this runner today. Today for 200% on the trade. So now, am I done with this trade? Do I still like the setup? Is it still trending across social media? The answer to all those questions is yes. So, what I have decided is I would take my profits here and then wait for another dip back to what is now the golden pocket. This would cover this gap where the name gapped up from the week of June 23rd and to the week of June 30th, and I would be looking to buy the dip at 625 to 567. So you can see again, this is a small risk zone. So if I enter at 625 and my stop is 567, I've got about 60 cents of risk here. But my reward is much larger than that 60 cents. It's actually over $2 to my first target, and then my ultimate target is 10 to $13. So that's a new trade, new social sentiment trade. But this is off of a weekly chart. The name is trending across the higher look backs. So it would be a swing trade, and I would be looking to buy October or December expirations for this trade, trading it back up to these targets. So that it covers that one. I talked about the hood trade, some possibilities, and because it's later in the day and Fed minutes are coming out in 10 minutes, I don't know that I will put on a fresh trade right now, but if you're interested just to see what would be candidates for a day trade today, I'm looking at Google. ASTS, this was another trade that I took based on the social sentiment idea with a win. And I've since gotten out of the trade, but just for an example on ASTS, it is in a buy zone here for me that's about $1.50 wide, and my profit target is up here of almost $3 up. So a good $2 or two time risk to reward up here. But like I said, I'm not looking to put on any fresh trades 9 minutes before FOMC minutes, but just to give you an idea of how I would do that. Or in the instance of Google, Google was on this list this morning, actually, and it was a buy the dip from the PMZ, and it played out to perfection right here, all the way up to the upper monthly edge, which was target. So, Google would have been a great name to trade with this concept. And you can see the risk was only 14 cents. Now I would have increased this to 50 cents, but you can see social sentiment, right, has pushed this name. It gave it wind behind its back up to the upper monthly edge here. And now price is just consolidating like the rest of the market. But every morning I check this hourly report. And then after the excitement of the day trading ends, I often go through the daily report to see what names are popular. And then I get look at the weekly report as well, looking for things that are on both uh, weekly and daily reports, because that tells me that it's not just a one off. All right. So uh, give me 1 second. I'm going to get my slides back up so I can talk about some common mistakes and how to avoid those mistakes. Here is that hood trade, my buy zone, my entry, my exit overnight. Cool 57%, $220 a contract. And you can see it went right back down to where we bought it from. So, all right, some common mistakes to avoid. Avoid buying into spikes without a clear plan. You always need to have a plan. Know where your entry is, know where your profit targets are, know where that ultimate target is at, and very, very important, know where your stop loss is at. I only buy at technical levels. Okay. I only buy at technical levels. If you trade voodoo lines, then I would suggest, or micro voodoo lines, I would suggest waiting for a pullback. Or if you're a momentum trader, waiting for price to get above that level that you're looking to trade off of the momentum once price breaks out. but very important, only buy at your technical levels. You don't want to rely only on social media for ideas. We, or I, am still a technical trader, and I'm not going to rely on nothing but social media for my trade ideas. And probably the most important mistake to avoid is FOMO, the fear of missing out. Be patient with your entries. Be patient. Wait for price to come to your levels before executing a trade. Too many traders jump in based on emotion. Sentiment can ignite a stock, but structure is what protects your money. Don't trade without a plan that has a defined entry, stop, and profit targets. Sentiment is like wind, it can push your trade fast, but still, you need a sell. Your sell is those technical levels. Combining social buzz with structure gives you an edge that lasts. All right. So, that, my friends, is how I like to trade the social sentiment names. I hope that you found this valuable and at least gives you an idea of some things that you can watch for potential trades. If you have any questions, you can put them in the comments. I have about 4 minutes. I can answer your questions. Or if you have a social sentiment stock that you're really eyeing for an entry, you can put that in the chat as well. And I can share what my level, right? My buy level would be with you. Kat asks, are you buying option contracts or the actual stock? So, Kat's thoughts, I personally buy options contracts. And with these names, if I'm doing a day trade, for instance, and today is Wednesday, I want to give myself a little extra time to expiration. So, in a name like Hood, I would buy the following Friday's expiration. That just helps some with theta decay, right? Because these names can sit around and decay very rapidly if you have implied volatility suddenly drops, etc. So I like to buy a little extra time on my options contracts, but absolutely you could trade these names, especially some of them that are cheaper. I don't want to say penny stocks, but say a $4 stock, for instance, the BBAI. You can trade it the same way that I trade it from that $4.50 level. Take the amount of money that you're really willing to risk by that number of shares. And then I think our last trim was at $8.47. That's almost a double on your equity. So you can trade both equity and options contracts, but I'm typically trading options contracts. Thanks you for your question. Anna Marie, you're listening from the beach. I hope you are enjoying the beach. Hi, Hi, Marco. Good to see you. Very good. All right, guys. I think I've answered the questions. Thanks for joining me. As always, if you like what you see on our YouTube channel, be sure that you're a part of the Simpler Trader community. Go to simplertrading.com and join one of the rooms. We have a sale that is going on right now. It expires in 2 days. Check out the 4th of July sale. I think you will be pleasantly surprised. In my opinion, it is the best community for traders. So I hope to see you in the room soon. Have a great rest of your trading day.